Hey, what's up guys? So here's a quick tutorial on how to make a gummy bear. It's sort of a tutorial about using some of the new tools and using Subsurface scatter, some of the new updates for Nomad Sculpt 1.68. If you haven't updated, make sure you update to 1.68. Hopefully it doesn't change too much as it continues to update. Okay, so we'll make a quick gummy bear and then we'll use that to play with some of the other options. I'll also tell you about the things that I don't like. So first we just have our regular sphere, and the nodes you see, like there's a bunch of different things up here, instance. So we just want our sphere here, and I'm going to rename that to body. So rename your sphere to body. So now I'm going to add a new sphere. So you hit this plus, add the new sphere, and I'm going to move it up. I'm going to make it smaller, slide it over. I'm going to hit mirror. Also, make sure that you're in, I like to sculpt in Metcap. So just go to this here, shading, Metcap. If not, yours looks like this, which is fine, but I like to sculpt in Metcap. So just go there. And also make sure that you are in orthographic. So go to this little camera here, orthographic versus perspective. So just go to orthographic. All right, so now let's go back to our circles. And we want them a little bit far apart, not too far. Something like this. We'll leave them here for now. Let's go back to our original sphere. And let's just take the move tool. I like to make it quite big. And then we'll just kind of skinny this up. Let's make it even bigger. So it's like 4 or something. Whatever size you need to, just so you can like skinny it up a little bit. And then we'll turn it to the right. And we'll just skinny this up. So something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just something like that is a good start. So let's go back to these circles, and we'll just use our gizmo, and let's stretch them like this. And let's see, where do we want to put them? Let's angle them a little bit forward, and then we'll move them back. So maybe something like that is good. We'll just bring them down and stretch them. There we go. So we just want the 2 circles in the back, something like this. Looks fine. So I'm going to validate them. And now I'm going to go back into our menu here. And this is where things sort of get confusing. So we used a mirror. So now you see the mirror here. And there's a lot of options there I'm not going to go into. But so that's the mirror of this sphere, his ears. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap on the mirror part of it and then hit validate. Join children. So that's going to join these 2 together. So that's the same thing as just a regular validate in the old version. So I'm going to go again. I'm just going to go to the mirror and then hit validate. And I want to make sure that I have join children. So now we just have 1 layer. I'm going to rename it to ears. So I've just renamed it. I joined the children. So now we just have our ears. So to me, that sort of feels like a long way to get to what before, if you would have just validated it, we would have had our ears. So there's a couple more steps, but you know, it is what it is. So this ears, this is the body. Now let's add some more. So we'll add another sphere. We'll make it smaller. Let's turn it and bring this out. And we'll slide it to the one side. And then we'll do mirror again. So these will be the arms. So we'll make them small. We'll just stretch them. And again, it's a gummy bear, so it doesn't really need to be too perfect. And let's tilt them out a little bit. So just put them on the side like that. I think that's fine. You can feel free to stretch them more so they sort of come out more. Whatever you like, whatever you fancy. You can also put them a little bit closer into the body, like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and validate. And here we have our mirror again. So I'm going to go ahead and validate that. And then I'm going to rename it to arms. Now, I'm not super certain about instance. I know that when you tap instance, it's sort of similar to clone. And I believe that it doesn't add all of those new vertices. So I believe when you instance it, it just is the same thing. But I'm not sure because I was trying to do that before, but it still took away, like it still added vertices to the scene. So I'm not quite certain. So if I go back and uninstance, the scene vertices is 122K. So now let's take the arms and we'll instance, and then we'll bring it down, and it still says 122K, but now it says 135K. So let's see, 122K. Okay, so in parentheses it says 135K, but it's still at 122K. I don't know. So let's instance it and see what it says. So, but this is the same thing as clone, but like I said, I just like to try these new things out. But I believe that it's not supposed to add to the overall size of the scene. I don't know. But there's also, you can go like this and join them, you know, so I don't really know what the difference is yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo that. So let's rename this to feeties. So now we have 4 of these together. We have the feeties. Let's bring them down just so they're sort of lower. And let's go back to our regular fat little circle. So let's go back to that. We'll just tap front so it's perfectly straight. And then we'll just do trim. And we'll do rectangle here. And let's just trim off the bottom. So we'll trim off the bottom. Oh, that might be too low, because we want it like sitting on the ground. So we'll make that flat, take smooth, and radius can be about 90, and just smooth out the bottom. I have symmetry on. So right now we're just smoothing out the bottom. And it's a little ugly, but we're going to remesh this whole thing later. So I think that's okay. So let's go back to the legs, and if you want to kind of squash them a little bit, maybe we'll make them bigger. And they just have to be on the side. Maybe we'll suck. Oops. So if you go like this and the whole thing moves, then that means that you don't have symmetry. So when you have symmetry, that way you can kind of go, whoops. And also, as you see, it just moved both of those. So I must have the arms selected as well. Doesn't look like I do. Okay, so essentially, that must be the instance. So, since that's the instance, it looks like whatever I do to this, it's going to do to the arms. Yeah, see? Okay, so whatever I do to this, it looks like it's going to do to the arms as well. But interestingly enough, the first time I did the gizmo, it didn't move anything, right? Or am I crazy? Yeah, it didn't do anything. So I don't really understand why. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But good to know. I also know that you can tap on this and you can uninstance, I believe. So uninstance. And now it should be just separate. So like I can move it around separately because it's its own thing, which is what I want right now. So let's move these together. Something like that I think is good. Let's just stretch this. And bring the legs down. Okay, something like this I think is good for what we need. I'll give them a little bigger legs. So once you have something like that, you can work it out. Here's the side view. Pretty simple. So now that we have all those, we'll go back up to our little scene menu here, and we can just select them all. And then we can do join. Join was simple merge. So simple merge is just they're together, but you can still move things separately. So if you wanted to separate them, you can separate them, and now they're separate again. Obviously, then you have to rename them all, but so that's join. So join was simple merge, but we're gonna do like a voxel merge or a remesh. So the voxel merge, so that will take all of these and make them all one piece, which is what we want. So we'll go back to our little scene, we'll do voxel, and I like to do around 200, and you see that everything is selected. So I'm going to voxel merge at 200, and now everything is together. Let's go ahead and save, because I don't auto save. Gummy Bear. Okay, so now we'll just take smooth and just smooth everything out. Symmetry is on, so when you do one side, it should be doing the other side as well. So we just want to make the mesh nice and smooth. I always smooth everything out a lot. Even all these lumps in the bottom. There we go. Make sure everything is nice and blended and looks good. Okay, so there's our little gummy bear. The bottom is okay because he's going to be on, you know, we'll make a plane. So let's make the plane now. So we'll just go back to our scene, add, plane, and we'll just make it big. We'll bring it down. And when you have something sitting like this, then you don't want to put it like right at the very end. You want to bring it up some so it really looks like the weight is like spread out at the bottom. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll even take move or drag. We can make it smaller. And I'll even flatten this out even more. So for example, oops. So I'll take this and sort of flatten it out. Even back here a little bit. There we go, that looks a bit better. So I just sort of flatten it out so that, let's see, so even these legs here. There we go. So it looks like it's actually, there's weight like sitting. I could even bring it out a little bit more to sort of make it look even more, but we don't have to do that for this. You know, something similar to that. Let's smooth out the bottom. Okay, so now we have our fat gummy bear and it's sitting, looking nice, looking good. So do we want to give him some eyes? We'll give him some eyes. Why not? So we'll give him some eyes. I like to use clay, and then I like to subtract. And it's up to you where you want to put the eyes. Maybe, do I want to give him big eyes or little eyes? So you can do something like that. You can make them bigger or smaller. I take smooth, and then I just smooth out those little eye sockets. Like that. And then we'll go ahead and add another circle. So I'm going to rename this to body. This is the main one. This is our main thing. Let's rename it to body. So we have the plane, and then we'll add. So we'll add a sphere. Of course, we'll make it smaller. Bring it up. We'll go ahead and mirror it. And we can put the little eyes in like that. And you can make them as, you know, as big or as small as you want. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine. Oops. There we go. So something like that looks pretty good. But actually I don't like these eyes, so I'm going to quickly do the same thing, but I'll change it. I can leave the eyes alone, actually, and then I can just okay, kind of like these eyes a little bit better. If you have issues, sometimes you notice that like I'll touch and it'll kind of go crazy. You can just hide the plane, and it should be a little bit easier to manage if you hide the plane. Okay, so that's our gummy. I think it looks pretty good. This is how I do the little, I'm not going to go too much in detail with this, but this is how I do the little mouth usually when I do my little frogs. I just use clay. And I take it off subtract, so it'll add clay. And then I just do like a little thingy like this. Do like a little arch. I smooth it out. Like that. And then I take crease. Fairly small crease. Doesn't have to be too big. And then I'll take crease and I'll go like this. Something like that. And I'll kind of smooth it out a little bit. And you can even take clay for the bottom, and you can add in a little lip, a little bottom lip. So something like that. And then sometimes I'll take inflate, and you can add like a little, I'll make it a little bit bigger. You can add like a little chin if you wanted to, or something like that. Just a little something, so it looks like there's a little something extra. But that's just something. I mean, it doesn't really look like a gummy bear anymore, but you get the point. I just want to show you some extra stuff. And pinch. Pinch is actually good. Let's say I wanted to make a nice, like, crease here. Oops. I don't know why it's colored. Take it off stroke painting. So crease will kind of give it a nice, like, sharp edge. See, if I do crease more, it gives it that nice sharp edge. So let me just smooth out around it. And we'll do crease again. Get really small. So there we go, like a little mouth. It kind of makes him creepy, but you know, that's okay. A lot of my sculpts are creepy. So that's how I would do like a little mouth or something like that. But I'm going to take it away because this is a gummy bear. Gummy bears don't have mouths. Okay, so let's bring the plane back. Boom. So that's our plane. Let's switch to perspective. So tap on this little camera and switch it to perspective now. And for some reason it goes to 25. I don't really like it 25, so I'm going to scroll this down to 10. You can play around with this. Obviously, this makes it look, you know, very weird, like it's a fisheye. But I like to do 10, like so. So now let's just bring it to the middle-ish. And let's hit add view. So we go back to this little camera and we're going to add a view. So we'll tap it, add view. And then we'll just put 1. So that's the main front view. So at least if we mess up and we want to go back to that view, then we can just tap it and go to our view. Okay, so now our gummy bear is coming along nicely. So the next thing is we can get out of Metcalf. So let's go to this little sun and we'll go to lit. And you can pick any one of these. You can pick any of the environments. This is one that I just use myself. It's my own. I made it in Procreate. If you've taken any of my Skillshare classes, then this is included in a lot of my 3D classes because this is the environment I use. But if you want to play around with these, doesn't matter which one you use. They're just different lights and different like environments. So I like to use this one. So we have our environment for now. We'll turn it off later to do the lights. But one thing that I want to do that is kind of cool is let's go to here and see how we have arms. What's arms? See, arms is the body. So let's rename it to body. Let's kind of clean all of this stuff up. So if you notice that this is our view. So the views are in this menu too. Doesn't really help me. I don't really know why, but let's put it at the bottom. The lights show up here too. I guess it's so you can just add a view do everything by this menu, but you know, it is what it is. So here we have the mirror and the sphere. Let's go ahead and these are the eyes. So let's just go ahead and validate those and just name it eyes. Okay, so now that's kind of cleaned up. And now we have the plane, which is our floor. But the body and the eyes, I want to make a couple different ones so we can play with it. So let's go to the eyes and just long press it and then just attach it to the body. So now it's attached to the body. You know, it has this little thingy. So I'm going to highlight both because I think I have to highlight both. Let's see. If I wanted to move this, even though they're connected, let's see if they both move. So I'm going to go to my gizmo and move, and they do. Okay, good. So now we have our body and we have our eyes, and let's just make a couple more. So let's see. Right now, the size is 154K. So if I instance it, so if I go here and then I hit instance. And then I move it. Okay, one thing I'm noticing, the eyes didn't move. So the eyes didn't move. And now it says 291K in parentheses. So, not sure if it worked. Maybe it worked. If we go back and forth. So this is without it. This is with it. So 291 in parentheses. Maybe that's just... So if I move it, let's see what happens if I were to uninstance it. So if I uninstance, it becomes 291K. So maybe that's doing what it's supposed to be doing. In parentheses is just how much it would have been, how big it would have been. The only thing is the eyes. So let's go back. Okay, so now we have the body and the eyes are selected. Let's select both. Instance. So now we have two of the same. We'll bring it over. So now we have two of the same. So let's rename this body 2. Body 2 looks like it's still in parentheses, so we should be good. Okay. So let's make another one, or let's make two more. So now let's use, let's highlight the 4 of them, I guess. We'll hit instance, and then we'll move it over. Okay, so it still says 154K, but it does have more in parentheses. So I think that should be what we want. Okay, so I think this is pretty good for now. Let's take them all. So let's just grab them all here. And we'll go to the gizmo. And let's just hit move origin. That way they're all in the middle of our plane. So all I did was go here and then I hit move origin. So let's bring them all up. just so they're kind of right on the surface. And then we have our 4. Let's take our plane and spread it out that way and that way. Okay. So this is the front. Why does it look like... Oh, so you know what happened? Let's see. If we hit 1... So I was back in orthographic. I'm not sure how I got back in orthographic, but... So I want to change it back to, okay, it's in perspective, it's in 10. I want this to be the new view. So now I'm going to go and add another view. So this is going to be 4 gummies. So now we have our 4 gummies here. I do kind of want to show you one of these other tools while I'm here. So let's take, okay, which one is this? Okay, so let's take this first body here. So that's this one. So both of these are highlighted. I'm just going to shorten this little link. So we're using the body. And when I go to add, you have these other options here, like array, mirror, radial. So when we do array, so now this body is under array. You see array here, and then you have this arrow underneath, and you have all these options up here. So those correspond. See how the gizmo has the green going up, red going this way, blue going this way. So all of these correspond to it. So let's say we wanted to make more of these. You can go like that. And you notice there's 2 of them there, and that's because I must have been messing around with it, and I have 2 here. So let's bring that back to 1. So now I can make more of these. And notice that even though I'm making a ton of them, it's still saying 154K, but in parentheses it's 3.59 million. So that's that. And also, that would have been another way that I could just make these 4. So let's hide all these other ones. And let's say I wanted to just make a row of 4. I have the 1 here, I have our array here, and I could just take the red because the red is pointing that way, and I could just make 4 of them like that. So that's another way to do it. Okay, and these would just be under the same umbrella as this one. So if we go to body, let's see what happens if we color one of them. So if I color this one, they all paint. Okay, so if you use array, if you color one, then they all get painted. And let's see what happens if we validate it. So if we validate it, okay, it's 735K. So it's not as big as it was, but it's still pretty big. So that's what array is. So you can make like a row of whatever. If you were making like a floor or bricks or something, that would be really good because you can just make like a bunch of them. So let's get out of array. So I'm just going to go back. Okay, I think that's where, okay, so now it's just normal again. We have our 4 different ones again, and we're good. So that's array. And while we're here, let's open another sphere. And let's do radial. So let's validate the sphere. So now we just have a sphere. So we made a sphere, and now let's go up here and where's it at? Add, and let's do radial. Not sure why it does this. It moves the gizmo. I think you can just go to pivot, reset. Nope, not gonna work. Okay. So the gizmo is down here. I don't know what that's about. It's kind of annoying. Okay, so maybe somehow it got to something else. I guess the radial thing is down there. And it looks like maybe this is world. So let's hit local. Let's turn world off and see if we can get... No, I don't know. I'm just as confused as you are. Don't worry. Local, world. Okay, so I guess it doesn't matter. But this is our sphere. We want to do the radial. So let's go to the radial. So now we'll tap on where it's red and it says radial. And we have 4 here. So that means, let's bring it up to like, let's bring it up to 10. So you see we have our sphere, we have this ring, and there's like 10 dots now. So now if we move it, oh, I guess that's not the right one. Let's see. How do we, no, that's not it. No, it's not that. So there is a way. Oh, I know what I did. So this is what I did wrong. I was on radial, and even though I put it to 10 here, and there's 10 dots, I was trying to do stuff while still having radial highlighted. I need to go to sphere. So now I'm in sphere. The radial settings are set. You set the radial settings here, and then you go to sphere, and now you can move it, and 10 come out. Oops. And so 10 come out from the center. Like that. So maybe we'll make them small. Okay, so there we have, so that's how you use radial. And I don't think we necessarily need them. So I'm just going to get rid of them. But that's how we use radial. If you can always change it to however many you want, and you see they kind of go away and they come. I don't know what. I guess if you tap that, then it's like it just changes the orientation of them. Oops. And again, you can't. I keep trying to move while I'm still in radial. So this just changes the orientation of the radial. But you can go back to radial and you can change it to Y or Z or Z, as some would say. Okay, so let's get rid of that. We don't need it anymore. That was just a fun exercise. What is this sphere? Delete. Okay, so back to our gummies. Let's go back to our view for gummies. So we have our 4 gummies here, and let's do a different material for each one so you can sort of see the differences. So let's make this one our subsurface scatter. So do we want to color them first, or do we want to, let's change them all to white. So I'm going to grab all the bodies, and I'm just going to change them all to white, and we'll change the roughness so they have a little bit of something like that. So now they're all changed. The eyes, let's make the eyes glossy. So now all the eyes are glossy. And I still get a bit confused. I think they're still all instances. So if you notice, still some things are happening with each one instead of happening all together. So let's see if I wanted to paint just these eyes black. It paints them all black. Okay, so it paints them all black. And let's see if there's a way to, let's see. I guess the only way to be able to control them each is to uninstance, which is fine. I want them to be different, so we're going to uninstance them. So we'll just go to the first one, uninstance, 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 and I don't have to do this one. So good to know. If you want to, if you're doing something that can be the same, use instance. You'll save a lot of space. So the first one, let's go to this the material here. The first one, let's leave opaque. For this one, we'll go to subsurface. For this one, we'll go to refraction. And this one, let's do subsurface again. We'll just do this one a different color. Okay, so now there are different materials, and they're probably, you can't really tell the difference now except for whatever this one is called. What is that? Refraction. So now I'm just going to, let's change the color of the ground to white for now. And now let's do some lighting. And once we do the lighting, once we do the lighting, you'll be able to see the difference. I'm just going to make the floor a bit wider. Okay, so first, I'm going to try to go through this quickly because everything I do winds up being a million years long. So let's turn off the environment, and it should be just black. So now let's add our first light. So this is just a world light. You can put this, let's put it sort of like this. So it's sort of lighting them up. It just kind of gives them a nice little light. So we'll rename this one to, we'll just call this one 1. So now let's add another light, and we'll tap on the little light icon here, and we'll change it to spot. And we'll just drag it behind, and let's put it sort of behind them, facing them this way. Now this is the only way that you'll really get the really cool effects of subsurface scatter. This is the only way that you'll really get it. So let's make the cone angle bigger, and we'll bring it up some. Let's make it a little bit softer. And just so you know, I'm using the light, but if you press this little square, the little options come up. It's the same thing as if you were to go all the way here and then tap on this. And also now, I think you can go to the menu again and the lights show up. So I think if you tap on that, no, you can't get to the options from here. But the light does show up on that menu. So as you see, now they're lit. Let's bring it up a little bit. Oh, and I wanted to make it softer. And softer just means that it's not such a harsh, like if I take all the softness away, you see it's very, very harsh and angular. So I'm just making it softer. And if you don't want it on the floor, you can sort of raise it up a little bit, so it's not so much on the ground. But it's not a big deal. And here's another little trick that I do often. Let's see, let's put it a little bit over to the side. Okay, so the light is shining behind them. So if I feel like it's too bright, the floor is too bright, what you can do is change the floor to change the roughness. So let me move it over so you can kind of see what's happening. So when I tap here and I change the roughness, okay, so it didn't really work that much, but it does make the floor a bit darker. But I think it's because the floor is white. So let me make it the floor darker itself. So yeah, it's just really bright there, but you get the idea. A lot of times the, wait, what was that? Was that a shadow? Oh, you know what? I think I just forgot to hit. If you can see the light, that means your material is not rough. It means it's sort of glossy. So I think I just forgot to hit paint all. Yeah, so now I don't see that pop of light. So just remember that your materials, the lights really affect your materials as well. So let's make this yellow. Let's make the floor yellow. And let's make the background yellow, like a similar color. Okay, so now you can see refraction. You can see that refraction, you see through it. And this is just the regular one. So what color do we want to make this? Let's make this one white, maybe. Let's change this. So this is our subsurface scatter. Let's change this to, notice how the light is shining through and it's red. So let's actually just make it a similar color. So let's make it red. And I don't want it fully glossy. I just want it a little bit. So I'll put in the roughness at 4.25. Paint all. So now it's red. So now that subsurface color makes sense. So for the clear one, let's go to its options. So there's a lot of options here you can mess around with. Paint glossy just makes it really glossy, but it sort of looks like hollow. Absorption, I think it takes some of the colors that are like around it. I think. At least that's what it seems to do. You can change the color. Let's see what this does. So it's almost like there's a color inside of it or something. It's kind of interesting. Let's make it a blue color inside. It's kind of cool. But you can still see the other colors. And also with refraction, there's also interior roughness. So that will change how rough it is inside. So gummy bears are kind of like, gummy bear would be maybe something along the lines of there. And the surface, I think the surface was, let's go to paint. Whenever you want to see what the surface color actually was, just go to paint and then go over it. Hold your finger over it. So this was white. So let's see if we change the roughness. So you can make it really glossy. I think gummy bears aren't really that. So let's do something like that. Gummy bears aren't that shiny. So here's the other subsurface scatter. So let's make this, let's see, what color do we want this one? Oh, we made that one blue. So maybe we'll just make this yellow, sort of like the environment. So let's make it yellow. And we can choose if we want it, you know, really glossy or... I don't really like my sculpts to be too glossy. So we'll paint it that color, it's yellow. Notice that the subsurface is still that color orange. So then you would go back in here and you change the subsurface color to like yellow. You could change it to whatever you want, but since the sculpt is yellow, I'm changing this to a yellow. Like so. But you can also change the densities and things like that. This light is actually really, really bright. So if we change the density or the depth, see now it's like solid. With a low depth, it's like solid. If you raise it up, then it becomes less solid and it's way see-through. So you can control the depth, which is pretty cool. And if you notice, it just takes more of the light. Translucency, same thing. It's not the same, but it just depends on how translucent you want to make it. So we'll do something like that. And let's make this one a little more translucent. So we'll go back to this and we'll make it more we'll change the depth so it's taking a little more of that color from the background. And I feel like he can't be white. I feel like he needs to be a different color. So we have yellow, blue, red, and maybe like a purple color. And I hate that it shows up behind the thing always. I'm always doing something and it's always behind let's make it a lighter purple. Okay, so now you can kind of see the difference in materials. Again, the refraction, you can still sort of see through, but now I changed some settings, so it's, it's a bit odd. Let's make this one glossy. So let's change the surface. There we go. So we'll do something like that. We'll make that one a little bit glossy. Okay, so now let's go to post-process, because things always look kind of crappy without post-process. I raise my render resolution and turn these on. Depends on your iPad. You might not want to do that, or you might just want to use it sparingly when you're going to export. So let's put on post-process, global illumination SSG. I think that's just like the lights. See how this light is now showing on the ground? Things like that, which I love. They're very realistic. Way more realistic. Let's go back to post-process. Ambient occlusion, if I turn it off, then it takes away like those little shadows underneath and things like that. So you can play around with that, play around with the sizes. You can see the little shadows are like changing underneath. And let's do depth of field so you can sort of get this background nice and blurred. And I'll raise this up. Bloom, notice how much bloom affects that. So I'm going to actually bring bloom down because it's a bit bright. And I don't think I like it too bright. So I think something like that is better. Okay, so I'm just going to add these other two lights. So let's add another light. And this one's actually looks good. I just wanted to make the scene a lot brighter. I'm going to move the light. Let's use the gizmo. I'm going to move the light just so it's out of the way and I can see it. But the world light, it doesn't really matter where you put it. It just matters like how you turn it. But I just want to like lighten up my whole scene. So I think that looks quite realistic. I'm going to go ahead and save before it crashes on me. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my view and go to 4 gummies. Okay, I think they look good. And notice how I just changed the view. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save, update viewpoint. I think that updates it rather than adds a new one. So I'm just going to do add view. So now I have the 3. I can go back to the other one if I decide to. Let's see, what else did I want to play around with? Well, firstly, I don't think the eyes all need to be black. So maybe we'll make this one. Let's move this so we can see what we're doing here. Let's change the Let's see if we make this subsurface. Let's see what it looks like. I always change that color to whatever color I'm using. Translucency. Okay, so that's that. We can go back and adjust the actual color of it if we want to. Which is kind of cool. I think I like purple. Do we want it glossy? Yeah, let's keep it glossy. Okay, so now these eyes, let's change these to... Oh, that's kind of nice. Do we want to make them rough? Rough is kind of interesting. Okay, so now these, let's see what happens if we change the material to something like additive and always unlit. Oh, you can't really see it. Can't really see anything. That's so odd. They just sort of like disappeared. I can't see them at all. Unless this is like the wrong eyes. But I'm pretty sure. Nope, that's the right body. Oh no, you can't see them at all. Interesting. So let's switch. So additive, you just can't see at all. Let's see if I change the opacity. Nope, still nothing. Two-sided. Let's turn two-sided off. Nope. Cast shadows. No, nothing. Inverse culling. Nothing. Okay, so if we make those refraction, then they kind of glow. So if we make those refraction, then they glow with always, oops, that's absorption. Always unlit. Always unlit. And then they sort of glow. That's kind of cool. And let's play with the colors. Okay, we'll leave it this blue color. I think that's kind of interesting. Whoops, let's go back to our view. Let's go to our gummy here, and then let's change his eyes to, maybe we'll just do subsurface eyes. We'll grab the color, we'll grab his color. So that's his color. We got glossy, we have rough. Could go crazy and do metal. Ball bearing eyes, but I think I just like let's change it to subsurface. We'll change this to yellow. And we still have all these subsurface options. So like if we wanted to change the depth, we could do that. Reflectance, you can change the reflectance. Translucency, so this is none. Okay. Oh, that's kind of fun. So it's almost like it's really showing the color inside or something. Oops, I forgot to hit paint all. And let's see if translucency affects that. All right, let's see if depth affects that. Interesting. Okay, so 0, so depth. Okay, interesting. So we'll just make it with a little bit of red showing. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so that's our gummies. Do I like it better just yellow? I do like to go back and undo and just make sure that I don't like something better. So we'll go back. Which one do you guys like? I think I like just a little bit of red showing. So let's go back. Yeah, let's go back to the first one. Yeah. Whoops. Okay, so now we have our gummies. This is so weird looking. So now we have our gummies, but I just wanted to show you how some of that looks. Did I turn on the environment? Let's go to the lights and turn on the environment. And you can actually turn it down because we don't really need that much light from it. It's without, it's with. Actually, I think without looks a little bit better, to be honest with you. So we'll just leave it. The background, okay. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. Did I use all my lights? I still have another light. So let's add, oh, I have my environment too. So I'll leave the environment and let's see if I want to change any of these lights. So now my background is yellow, so I want to change all the lights to be a little bit warm. Okay, lights are a little warm. now let's experiment and make one cool. I don't even know which light this is. Okay, I think it looks better, darker like that. All right, so let's add, I want to still add this other light. Let's make it another spotlight. We'll go to the gizmo right away and we'll move it over. And let's move it sort of like angling down on them. It's kind of nice. It just gives them some more light on them. I think it looks nice. All right, so then we have our gummies. I think they look pretty good. We just need a good photo of them. I think something like that would be cool. Maybe I'll stretch the... Okay, so I think that's pretty cool. So now you have your gummies, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of how cool the subsurface stuff is. It's really, really amazing, and it actually even looks better if you like. This is a very light scene, but sorry, the neighbors are being loud again. It's a really, really bright scene, but whoops. But if you make it dark, that's when you really see, that's when the subsurface really, really shines, when it's dark, the darker it is. See, I think that looks cool too. I wish I could see more of the little, the purple guy. Oh, I can see a little bit more of him now. But let's save this one too. So we have this. All right, and there you have it. So I'm gonna upload this. Hopefully this was helpful, and get you more familiar with refraction and subsurface scatter and all that stuff, and surfaces and materials. All right, hopefully that helped. Let me know in the comments what you think. Keep drawing, keep sculpting. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to learn more, check out my classes on Skillshare. I have 2D classes and 3D classes. If you want to see more, be sure to check me out on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all Drug-Free Dave, and also Facebook. There's some really great Facebook resources for Nomad Sculpt and Procreate, including my own group, Procreate Tutorials and Guidance. As always, keep drawing, keep sculpting, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Ah.